Welcome back, Wetaskiwin, to another R&R News interview. We have candidate for council, re-elect Kevin Lonsdale. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. We're here to do part two with a bunch of city questions or concerns or topics. Let's move right on in, Kevin, talking about taxes and economy. What is your plan to keep taxes low, or do you plan on keeping them low? And are they currently low, and or maybe somewhere in between? So go ahead.
Well, I guess I would say right now, everybody thinks they're high, and when you look at it, they're at the ratio. There's things that we need to work on. Now, that being said, in the 3 years that I've been involved, our first year I think we had a 3% increase, if I remember right. The next year it came in at 0, and then last year was a 2.28% deficit. So, I think we're on the right track in trying to do that. Now, you have to look for efficiencies in every department to see if there's overlapping things and this and that. And I think administration has done a really good job on that. And that continues. Now, at the same time, we have to look at any projects that need done. And they all come up and mostly at budget time. And of course, that's when you set the rate and everything. So you get all of these projects that need to be done, but then you're looking at maybe a huge tax increase. So what we've done a few times is, every time is you have to prioritize. These are the ones that need done right now. These are the ones that can wait a little bit. And these are the ones that maybe can wait until next year. And so, and in doing that, I think we've done a pretty good job. And right. I think we need to continue.
You mentioned a second ago that the administration has been doing a good job of finding, inefficiencies. Were they not doing a good job before, or were they just missing things? Like before, the current one is doing really well. Was there definitely some money that was saved by digging into certain things with this current administration? Well,
I think so, but I don't think that anybody was really at fault before. I don't think that it maybe been delved into.
Gotcha.
And the thing about it is, in the 4 years we've been in, we've had a lot of turnover in staff, starting even at the top. So sometimes things just happen, and unless you really take a deep dive into it, you don't find it.
Mm-hmm. And you touched a little bit about this in your previous statements, but do you think that the tax money is allocated appropriately? I guess from the handing it out at budget and making the departments, do you think there is an appropriate amount of distribution or spending?
I think there is, because most of that comes from what is decided at budget, what is going to happen. So, but there again, then you've got your day-to-day operations as well. So I think it's fine myself, yes.
Let's talk a little bit about economic development. New businesses, or any businesses, contribute quite a bit to the tax base. Does Kevin Lonsdale have a plan to attract more economic development?
Well, the biggest plan to attract economic development is to work with our economic development team. And we have a great team as part of our administration. They are working very, very hard. They're out every day trying to find new businesses, industrial, commercial. We've got land we want to fill, and believe me, they're doing a great job. And there is some outside interest. One thing that we can look at that has happened and hasn't happened in Wetaskiwin in a long time is the building at the end of Main Street with Starbucks in it. They put an incredible amount of work into that, and it's five businesses, 4 new, 1 that's existing that moved. But we've got a new building, very nice building. I know they worked with the building that is going up at Denham Landing, another really nice building. So I think we're starting to see the work that they're doing. I think everybody in Wetaskiwin can work with economic development just by, everybody should be promoting this city. And we're doing a better and better job of promoting this city all the time, to make people want to come here. People always focus on the negatives. Let's start focusing on the positives that we have here as well, because it's a great community.
Mm-hmm.
We have our problems, but we have people wanting to move in, and so let's just keep going. But when it comes to that, our economic development team is great.
All right. Is there
we
any
can help them out in any way we can, but they're the professionals.
Leave it to the professionals. What services do you think we should cut or lose in Wetaskiwin, or are there any?
Yeah, I would say right now we're really kind of running at a bare bones. Like we've had to cut some a little bit. I think we're sitting at a level right now that we're able to run the city. I don't think there's anything now that we really need or should cut. But there's always things to look at. But I'm okay with the levels of service right now.
All right. So is there anything that you think is lacking for services in Wetaskiwin? Do you think that that you'd like to see added in the next term of your term?
Well, like I said, we pretty much have the basics. There's a few things that have been going around. A topic quite often is curbside recycling and that type of thing. Now, I don't know if Wetaskiwin's quite ready for that. And then also there's the cost of it as well. So we have to weigh that. There's been talk about transportation, because some people don't have transportation, and but we've got cabs and we've got transit stuff. It's all things that we're looking at, but I don't think there's anything major that we're missing.
All right.
So, yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about local business. Let's say, Kevin, I know you're not necessarily making the decisions of this, but hypothetically, if you received two quotes for a city project, and one was from a local business and one was from out of town, the local one was higher than the out of town one, which one would you choose and why?
I always like to use local, but then it comes down to, you have to look at the bids, and, if they're very, very close, or close even, I myself would go local. Now, if there's a huge difference, that makes it a different story. But if there's a huge difference, then you may have to look at, are you comparing apples to oranges? Are you going to get the same levels of service from the guy who's way down here as to the person that's way up there? So it's more complicated than just say we're going to use local. But with any attempt, I would try to use local all the time. But it does come down to taxpayers' money as well.
For sure. So kind of a balance, for sure. All right, let's move on to crime.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, but when you use local as well, you're helping the local taxpayers, the people that serve or buy groceries in town and all that. So yeah, it is. It's something that I agree with, but it all comes down to dollars sometimes.
For sure. All right, we're going to move on to crime and homelessness, and I didn't intend, I didn't intend with this slide to group homelessness with crime in the sense that crime is coming from the homeless people. So I apologize for that, Kevin. I should have cut two separate categories, one for crime, one for homelessness, but okay. I sent it out to everybody, so that's kind of how I had to do, and now I'm just explaining it. Yep. So, what crime do you think impacts Wetaskiwin the most, Kevin, and do you have a plan to deal with it?
Well, our biggest plan to deal with any crime is to put faith into our law enforcement, which I have faith in our law enforcement. It's a big job, and I know they're doing the best they can. We have so many assaults and break-ins. We've got domestic violence. I truly believe one of the biggest problems we have in the city is drugs, and I think a lot of the other problems that we have stem from that. And I think, we've been fairly successful lately, working with the RCMP and the crime reduction unit in taking down some of these houses and this and that. And I think that's just what we need to continue to do. Like I said, we're not policemen. We just say, here, Inspector Durant's, we would like this, and just keep doing what you're doing, and then they go and do their work that they know how to do, and not us.
So how have you found the level of service from the local RCMP? Do you think we're getting a good response time? Do you think that they're managed well with the current Inspector Durant's in charge?
I think they're managed well. Response times can always be better, especially when you're the one waiting. Now, they do operate under a much larger caseload than anywhere else. But I think it's acceptable. I think the way it's going, people just have to, realize that it is going to take a minute to get there. And sometimes I know when I've heard horror stories about long times and this and that, and you never want that to happen, but I believe it's being addressed. So.
Let's talk a little bit about panhandling, public intoxication, and the loitering that happens with both of those kind of things together. Right. Is there a way? Like, I know that you're on council and that you're working through these things, but do you think there's any other ways to minimize or reduce that in Wetaskiwin?
Not really. Well, not at the moment. Now, because I guess here you go. If we had a more permanent place for people to go, it might settle it down a little bit. But I don't think it's ever going to stop. It's it's something that and like you say, it's a lot of the things is you can't police your way out of things like this, and so yeah, it's I'll just try to get some help for the people and go from there.
Okay, let's move on to some homelessness topics or discussion. What are your plans to deal with the homeless in the short term, and then the long term after that as well, Kevin?
Well, it's not just us; it's us and our administration and a bunch of other groups and provincial government and federal government and this and that. Like short term, what we're looking at right now, considering that we're October 3rd, I think it is. So what we're looking at right now is something that hopefully we can get set up fairly soon is just a warming shelter, just a place to go get warm, and so it would kind of, yeah, and that would be what it is. That's something that hopefully we can get done in a hurry. Now, in the long term, like I say, we have set up a task force and a committee, and they are working with all the major players, AHS, FCSS. All these people that really know what they're doing in this situation. And, I think my thing is to have a permanent building on an acceptable site. And so far we haven't been able to find an acceptable site. So, whether it's here, whether it be a little ways in the county, whether it might be in Muskwachees, but we have people working on it and reporting back to us. So that's basically the long-term thing right now is we're getting the information to see where we're going.
Do you think that the citizens would support a full-use facility similar to what we've had downtown in the past year? And then, we didn't have a full-service kind of a thing before that. But do you think either an emergency type or a full-use type of building service could be run safely in Wetaskiwin and not create the problems that it's had in the past?
I would hope so. Yeah. Now, not being an expert in this, and like you say, we've had problems pretty much with everything we've tried, and you're going to have an amount of problems with, I think, almost anything we try and do. But here again, this is why we have all the professionals working on this to see how anything that might happen, how it's going to be set up, what the rules are going to be, and I think anything can be done. It just we just have to put our faith into the people that are trying to work towards with us. So.
Right. And what if the overwhelming majority of the community said, you know what, Wetaskiwin's too small for this kind of facility. I know that if it's grant money, it's not costing taxpayers per se, but if we have zoning right now that says we can't have a liquor store near residential or a pawn shop
right.
or adult entertainment facilities and stuff, and if there's no zoning for it, and the public says, you know what, we're just too small. At what point do you listen to? Like, I don't even know if that's the majority or the minority of Wetaskiwin who wants to have one. I mean, everybody wants to help a human being. I'm pretty sure on that. But, if it can't be run safely, with the funds that are provided by the organization, just to give you an example, when it was downtown, the city had to hire security because, this is just this. And, that could have been part of the person or organization, or, that could have been put into place to minimize that, or that's what should have been, I think, because that's what was causing a huge amount of issues downtown. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
no.
No, I do. I understand what you're saying. But getting back to if the citizens would support it or not. And this is a very divisive item in the city right now. If you look back when we were looking at putting the hub in the building just south of the Wetaskiwin Mall there, we were looking at that. We had to change the zoning on it. So when that came, there was probably 40 people from the south side in, and this and that, and council listened to them, and we, it was voted no, we're not going to do it. And, a lot of work was put into that, but we listened to the citizens, and so they do have a say, especially when it comes to zoning something.
Yeah, and then when the tent city popped up at the Rock Soup, there was someone did a petition with signatures within 48, 72 hours or something, and it had hundreds of signatures on it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, it's all good to want something to help people, but at the same time, if the community is saying, like, what are you guys doing, right? I'm wondering if it's something that. Anyway, we'll move on. Unless you have other topics
I'm good.
You didn't have a last comment on my last comment.
No.
Sometimes I talk too much. I apologize for the people who came to hear you, and they actually have to hear me asking stuff.
That's fine.
You have to remember, too, people of Wetaskiwin, that I am an ordinary citizen. I'm doing this to learn all about the councillors, just like you're here listening to Kevin learning about him. And so I do have additional things that pop in my head during interviews, and so I try to keep it all fair and level and ask the same questions, but at the same time, when it goes a certain direction and accounts, and a candidate mentions something, it switches over. But enough about talking about me, blah, blah, blah. Wait, did I miss a question? I cleverly clicked it. No, I didn't. All right, let's talk about neighboring communities, our relationships, and if you have a plan on strengthening them. And this could be Millet, Temusquecheese, Ponoka, Camrose. What do you think about that?
Well, we're trying to work together with all of them. We have a pretty good relationship with everybody. And like I said, the intermunicipal relations committee, it's about basically a couple of certain things. But through having these meetings, we've realized that the city and the county should get together more often as two groups, even if there's no pressing issues. Let's just get together and talk about things, and that the town of Millet, I would like to do the same thing. In the past, we've had meet and greets with Millet and with the county, and it's been great, just informal. Do that. With Mesquicheese, there's been lots of work going on, and it is coming back to us as well. Everybody is working together, which hasn't quite happened a lot in the past. And there's been a lot of work by our administration and by Ren and by Tyler to make inroads. Now, in saying this, when the building went up at the end of Main Street, we had to relocate the Peace Cairn. Well, that's a huge monument, and so what we did is we reached out to Mesquicheese to make sure when we placed it, that it was placed to all protocols. And we had everything from elders and chiefs and everybody. And throughout that whole system, I believe there was at least 4 traditional pipe ceremonies. And that is just an amazing event to go to. And, it brings together everybody, and you get to know each other a little bit, and it's a very humbling experience. And so we're really trying, and we're seeing its rewards right now, I think. So no, I truly believe that, relationships with everybody is going to help everybody. We've started a committee to work with Camrose, but with COVID and everything going on, we haven't really got traction on that one yet. But no, we're reaching out to everybody to try to, we can grow as communities better together than we can apart.
Right. All right. What about truth and reconciliation initiatives? Do you have any other plans to do any extra truth and reconciliation initiatives in Wetaskiwin?
I don't myself right at the moment, but I know some of our administration in that, and they're working with the Wetaskiwin District Heritage Museum, who is doing a fantastic job with that. So I think we're doing good on that. With everything that happened, I don't know if you can ever do enough, but we're on the right track.
All right. Let's move on and talk a little bit about current council. Since your last sentence out of your mouth was right track, we'll start with what is council getting right? And this isn't specifically who on council is getting right, but what type of decisions are you most proud of in the last 4 years that you've been on as a term as a counselor? What have you been really happy with? What is in aligned with Kevin's philosophy that they've decided on in the last 4 years?
Well, one thing we touched on a little bit earlier is doing our best to keep taxes as low as we can. Another thing that we've been trying to do through some events and through everything else is just to bring up, and we talked about this too, a more positive attitude than negative attitude within the city. Now, another thing that I like, and I guess this is something we can look at, and we've talked about moving to Peace Cairn and getting a nice new building. So, with that decision, and like I said, it was a lot of work. We ended up with a nice building, 5 businesses, moved to Peace Cairn, which in turn got our relationships moving with Muskwachees. Great, even though they were in the works before and we were working good together. It just reinforced that. And then now, when I look at where it sits now, we used to have basically the water tower and an empty piece of grass, and nobody ever used that. Well, now on one piece of land, we have our 2 iconic emblems, the Peace Cairn and the water tower, and people are actually going there and using it as a park. So in one decision that was made, we had 3 really good outcomes, and believe me, that doesn't always work.
For sure. So what about on the opposite end then? What and I know that you're working with council currently, but is there anything that you think council has blundered on or gotten wrong, and do you think it could be, and how would it have been better if it would have went your way, or I guess that's the question. It's hard to talk about the things you're getting wrong when you're on council, but go ahead.
It is what it is, because when you're in a debate, and we might all agree on something, we might all disagree on something, or you're going to come to the point where there's opposed and there's in favor of. But once that vote is made and you opposed it, that's your decision, because every decision is council, and you have to stand up to that, and that's what I like. Now, every decision we make is bad in somebody's eyes. And I've been thinking about this, and I can't think of anything that we've really blown badly. I get heck for everything. So I could sit here and go through the minutes of the last 4 years and tell you about that.
One meeting that comes to mind, and I don't know how you voted, so we'll find out here, but the apparently there was a bunch of people who wanted to raise chickens in the backyard. Right. And did you agree with that, that people should have or shouldn't have? Like, what did you ultimately vote for that decision? And what was the outcome of that? Like, was it the way that you had voted, or was it opposing your vote?
No, I do believe it was the way that I voted, and I was opposed to it for right now.
Okay, right. No, so it went in line. That was, I guess, that was what you got right. So I was trying to find an example of something that you voted on that was the opposite way. That, anyways, but I like what you said about having to work with the decision that's made. So even if Kevin Lonsdale doesn't agree with the decision, once the decision is made, I think you stated that you put all your effort and support into that decision, even though it wasn't what you had wished that had happened. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry, Wetaskiwin. No inside dirt on what Kevin thinks that the council is getting wrong. He still has to work.
We've messed up, believe me. Like I said, it just isn't one that really stands out.
Okay. All right, you heard it from Kevin, everyone. All right, we're going to move on to one of the last questions. Kevin, what do you think Wetaskiwin's biggest problem is, and how would you solve it?
Here again, I think it's the biggest is crime. At the moment, I think crime, that problem leads into everything. Here again, we've got law enforcement that we have to put our trust in. And they have my trust, and go ahead. It's a big job. I think another problem that we have, and we've had for a long, long time, is a negative attitude towards the city of Wetaskiwin. And obviously, there's negative things here, but there's a whole.
Sorry, Kevin, are you talking about a negative attitude the citizens have toward the city as a whole, or the negative as the citizens have to the council?
No, city as a whole. Like there's so many times, nothing ever happens in this city. This city's you know what, and this and that. And but there are so many positive things here. And like I said, my kids have been raised here. They're raising my grandkids here. Let's focus on the positives, because people looking to relocate or, move a business here, if they hear all of that negative talk and everything, are they going to move here? Probably not. So, I think that is, crime is the biggest one like that. Drugs, the homelessness situation as well. But then it's also the whole attitude of the city. And I feel it getting better. I do. So
good. What about an ultimate vision for Wetaskiwin? Do you have one?
Well, what I'm looking at is, I've been thinking about this one a little bit. Overall, we need a safe community. We need a thriving community. What I would like to see, I know everybody is looking for growth and growth and growth, and I'm not sure how much I like that. I like the small town feel, but we have industrial, commercial land that is ready to go. We have retail businesses on our business places on Main Street that are closed down. If we could start to fill up some of those, and bring in other businesses, you're going to bring in other people, which is going to bring housing, which is going to make the need for more retail and this and that. I think if we could just work on the land that we have right now and try to get businesses and people here and just make it more thriving and a safe community for everybody, that's what I'm looking at.
All right, good. Kind of a fairy tale question next, Kevin. If you had access to unlimited resources, what's the first thing you would do, and or what would you do with it? So, pile of money, Kevin. Here, you got to spend it on the city. Where does it go?
So this is a one-time shot of money?
Sure.
Okay, we'll go with that. First thing I would do is I would pay off the debt, and then if it was ongoing, we could look at getting rid of taxes, of course. But if it's going to run out, maybe we should leave taxes in, because if you take taxes out, it's going to be hard to put them back in, right?
Do you guys ever buy? You should allocate some money to lottery tickets every month. Like play the Lotto Max or the 649. It's just use $10 a month, and you never know. You might hit the jackpot, and then some of your wishes come true.
We'll have the same luck that I have. Yeah.
What you're saying? There's no budget for lottery money on council, Kevin. It's not Could you add it to the agenda? I think you could add it. It would be,
not unless every council member puts it in on their own.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to give you ideas. That's a fantastic idea, by the way. Like $10 a month or week spent on lotto tickets so the city can get out of debt. But anyway.
Yeah. But then the other thing, we have so much work to do in infrastructure. underneath the ground buildings and this and that, wastewater treatment plant. So, if we had a pack of money, if we could take care of that, that would just be fantastic.
Perfect.
So that would be my view if we had a whole bunch of money.
All right, good. I got a couple bonus questions that I've been asking all the candidates,
good.
So I'm going to ask you as well. First one is on COVID-19, and I know that when COVID-19 first started happening and the provincial government didn't have a mask mandate, the city of Wetaskiwin stepped up and set a limit of 15 people to have masks, and we instituted that before it became a provincial regulation. Being that the vaccine percentage in Wetaskiwin is quite a bit lower than the provincial average, at least it was last time I looked, do you think the city of Wetaskiwin's council should implement further restrictions over and above the current provincial restrictions?
I believe right now we stick with the provincial and see how that goes. Now, if we end up having a major outbreak, then I think you have to look at that. But I think staying with the provincial guidelines is the way to be right now.
All right, good. And then next question is on the federal election we just had. How do you feel about the outcome of the federal election? And on to the next question.
And on to the next. I vote to adjourn.
There we go. No, is all of Wetaskiwin in favor? I don't see any other hands going up, so keep going, Kevin.
Well, I was looking at this election, and it seemed that there may be a big enough movement in the East, to maybe Trudeau isn't our prime minister anymore. By the time it gets out here, it's already decided. But in the back of my mind, I really thought that Justin would win. And now the thing is, it's you don't sit and cry about it. You just see what work you can get done, right? And we haven't had a lot of luck, but you just got to keep on trying and see what we can get done and work with and go from there.
So let's see if Kevin answers this question. This is the last kind of question. If Kevin Lonsdale's platform resembled a political party, NDP, Liberal, Conservative, Green Party, PCs, whatever, what party would Kevin Lonsdale be, or his way he operates?
Well, I think I've always been more of a conservative all the way along. But now, if you look at everything, and like I'm not a card-carrying member of anybody. And I like a lot of things that conservatives are doing. I don't like a lot of things they're doing, but I think I lean more that way. And I really don't affiliate myself with any of those parties. I just, try to be me. That's about it.
Perfect. Well, before we say goodbye to all of the fine folks who have made it 25 or so minutes into this presentation, tell people how they can contact you should they have further questions or need to ask you a clarification question.
Well, the best way is my city email, kevin.lonsdale@wetaskiwin.ca. And I know some people don't like to get a hold of people on something official like that, so I have my personal one, which is klons58@hotmail.com. So it's just KLONS58@hotmail.com. And then I have my Facebook page. And all of that is up on the city website. So
perfect. And don't forget to vote, Wetaskiwin. Make sure you get out and tell your neighbors to vote, and tell your neighbors to get informed and all of that cool stuff. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for allowing a person with the chicken hat to interview today for the internet. I've gotten some comments in the past that how can we take these interviews serious when the guy that's asking the questions is wearing a chicken hat? But for anybody who knows the content that I put out, my content can be completely ridiculous and not serious, and then it can be completely relevant and completely serious. So I think most people can get past the guy with the chicken hat and listen to you. I have, anyway. So thank you, Kevin, for...
Well, no, thank you. I truly appreciate it. And, to give everybody the chance to get out and get their questions answered. No, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, Wetaskiwin, that is all for tonight or today. If you're done watching videos, go vote. If you're not done, there's lots more to listen to or watch. So bye, Wetaskiwin. Take care.
Goodbye, Wetaskiwin.